In the Kingdom of Fools by A.K. Ramanujam. A.K. Ramanujam was the Indian poet and scholar of Indian literature who wrote both in English and Kannada. Ramanujam was a poet, scholar, philologist, folklorist, translator, and playwright. His academic research ranged across 5 languages: English, Kannada, Tamil, Telugu, and Sanskrit. He published works on both classical and modern variants of this literature and argued strongly for giving local, non-standard dialects of their use. Though he wrote widely and in a number of genres, Ramanujam's poems are remembered as enigmatic works of startling originality, sophistication, and moving artistry. He was awarded the Sahitya Akademi Award posthumously in 1999 for his collection of poems, The Collected Poems. Now the theme of this story is: wisdom is worshipped everywhere. When foolishness is our greatest enemy, with the help of wisdom, we can make a difference between right and wrong. When our life is in troubles, we can fight with them and make our ways with the power of wisdom. It lives with us and never dies, even if we leave this world. Obviously, the wise people are worshipped everywhere. The main characters: the king, a foolish ruler who has executed himself; the minister, the foolish advisor to the king who agrees with everything that the king proposes; the guru, a wise, resourceful person with magical powers who becomes king through his wisdom; the disciple, a greedy and short-sighted person who remembers his guru in time of need. So a short summary of this chapter is: In the Kingdom of Fools is a story by A.K. Ramanujam. The story highlights the fact that in a kingdom of fools, people's lives can be danger, as the king and his ministers were brainless and did not do things in a normal manner. It's a place where everything is in reverse and justice is not given. A guru and his disciple visit this place, get involved in some matters, but finally, with guru's wisdom, king and his ministers get executed by their own orders. Normalcy is restored in the city after their death. The people choose guru as king and his disciple as their minister. Let's now move on to the story. Page number 19. In the Kingdom of Fools, both the king and the minister were idiots. They didn't want to run things like other kings. So they decided to change my night into day and day into night. They ordered that everyone should awake at night, till their fields and run their businesses only after dark, and go to bed as soon as the sun came up. Anyone who disobeyed would be punished with death. The people did as they were told for fear of death. The king and the minister were delighted at the success of their project. One day, a guru and his disciple arrived in the city. It was a beautiful city. It was broad daylight, but there was no one about. Everyone was asleep, not a mouse stirring. Even the cattle had been taught to sleep by day. The two strangers were amazed by what they saw around them and wandered around town till evening, when suddenly the whole town woke up and went about its nightly business. The two men were hungry. Now that the shops were open, they went to buy some groceries. To their astonishment, they found that everything cost the same, a single dudu. Whether they bought a measure of rice or a bunch of bananas, it cost a dudu. The guru and his disciple were delighted. They had never heard of anything like this. They could buy all the food they wanted for a rupee. So what you heard from this para is that the king and his minister in the Kingdom of Fools were stupid. They ordered that night should be treated as day and all the people should work at that time. They should go to bed as soon as the day broke. The orders were followed by the people under the fear of being put to death if not followed. This delighted the king and his minister. Once a guru and his disciple came to this particular kingdom during the day, finding it beautiful but totally deserted. Everyone, including the animals, was asleep. They were tired and hungry but could not get anything to eat till the evening, when the whole place woke up and came to life. When the guru and disciple bought some food items, they surprisingly found that everything, whether it was a bunch of bananas or a measure of rice, cost the same, 1 dudu, the local currency. Let's continue the third paragraph. When they had cooked and eaten, the guru realized that this was a kingdom of fools and it wouldn't be a good idea for them to stay there. This is no place for us, let's go, he said to his disciple. But the disciple didn't leave the place. Everything was cheap here. All he wanted was good, cheap food. The guru said, "They are all fools. This won't last very long, and you can't tell what they will do to you next." So the wise guru realized that they were in a kingdom of fools and it would not be safe to stay there. So he suggested his disciple that they should leave the place at once. But the disciple wouldn't listen to the guru's wisdom. He wanted to stay. The guru finally gave up and said, "Do what you want, I'm going," and left. The disciple stayed on, ate his fill every day, bananas and ghee and rice and wheat, and grew fat like a street-side sacred bull. So the disciple was fond of food and found it very cheap to stay on, and the guru left. Soon the disciple grew very fat by eating to his fill. One bright day, a thief broke into a rich merchant's house. He had made a hole in the wall and sneaked in. And as he was carrying out his loot, the wall of the old house collapsed on his head and killed him on the spot. His brother ran to the king and complained, "Your Highness, when my brother was pursuing his ancient trade, a wall fell on him and killed him. This merchant is to blame. He should have built a good, strong wall. We must punish the wrongdoer and compensate the family for this injustice." The king said, "Justice will be done, don't worry," and at once summoned the owner of the house. So this para says that one day a thief broke into the house of a rich merchant to steal his valuables by breaking a wall. But as he was going out with the stolen stuff, the old wall fell on him and killed him. The brother of the thief complained before the king that the owner of the house was to be blamed for the death demanded justice. The king heard the case and the merchant was found guilty because his house wall collapsed and killed the thief. When the merchant arrived, the king questioned him, "What's your name?" "Such and such, Your Highness." "Were you at home when the dead man burgled your house?" "Yes, my lord. He broke in and the wall was weak. It fell on him." The accused pleads guilty. "Your wall killed this man's brother. You have murdered a man. We have to punish you." "Lord," said the helpless merchant, "I didn't put up the wall. It's really the fault of the man who built the wall. He didn't build it right. You should punish him." "Who is that?" "My lord, this wall was built in my father's time. I know the man. He is an old man now. He lives nearby." The king sent out messengers to bring in the bricklayer who had built the wall. They brought him, tied hand and foot. "You there, did you build this man's wall in his father's time?" "Yes, my lord, I did." "What kind of a wall is this that you built?" "It has fallen on a poor man and killed him." "You have murdered him." "We have to punish you by death." Before the king could order the execution, the poor bricklayer pleaded, "Please listen to me before you give your orders. It's true, I built this wall and it was no good. But that was because my mind was not on it. I remember very well a dancing girl who was going up and down that street all day with her anklets jingling, and I couldn't keep my eyes on my mind on the wall I was building. You must get that dancing girl. I know where she lives." "You are right. The case deepens. We must look into it. It's not easy to judge such complicated cases. Let's get that dancer, wherever she is." The dancing girl, now an old woman, came trembling to the court. "Did you walk up and down that street many years ago while this poor man was building a wall? Did you see him?" "Yes, my lord. I remember it very well." "So you did walk up and down with your anklets jingling. You were young and you distracted him, so he built a bad wall." So here, when the merchant was brought before the king, he blamed the bricklayer who built the wall, as it was thought that his bad workmanship created a weak wall. But the bricklayer blamed the dancer who distracted him when he was making the wall by passing in front of him a dozen times during the day, resulting in poor quality of the wall. The dancer accused the goldsmith, and accordingly the goldsmith was brought in. Let's see what happened with goldsmith. The king continued speaking. He told the dancer that the wall had fallen on a poor burglar and killed him. "You have killed an innocent man. You have to be punished." She thought for a minute and said, "My lord, wait. I know now why I was walking up and down that street. I had given some gold to the goldsmith to make some jewelry for me. He was a lazy scoundrel. He made so many excuses, said he would give it now and he would give it then, and so on all day. He made me walk up and down to his house a dozen times. It's not my fault, my lord. It's the damned goldsmith's fault." So here, when the dancer was brought before the king, she accused the goldsmith for making her to walk up and down for getting her jewelry. So he asked the king to punish the goldsmith. "Poor thing, she is absolutely right," thought the king, weighing the evidence. "We have got the real culprit at last. Get the goldsmith, wherever he is hiding, at once." The king's bailiffs searched for the goldsmith, who was hiding in a corner of his shop. When he heard the accusation against him, he had his own story to tell. "My lord," he said, "I am a poor goldsmith. It's true, I made this dancer come many times to my door. I gave her excuses because I couldn't finish making her jewelry before I finished the rich merchant's orders. They had a wedding coming, and they wouldn't wait. You know how impatient rich men are." So here, when the goldsmith was brought in, he actually blamed the rich man who had given the orders for a wedding that was about to happen in their house. So the goldsmith was actually making ornaments for the rich man's wedding. So he was under pressure. So he made this girl's anklets or this girl's ornaments late in delivery. So the blame actually went to the rich man. Who is this rich man, merchant, who kept you from finishing this poor man's jewelry? Made her walk up and down, which distracted this bricklayer, which made a mess of his wall, which has now fallen on an innocent man and killed him? Can you name him? The goldsmith named the merchant, and he was none other than the original owner of the house whose wall had fallen. Now justice had come full circle, thought the king. Back to the merchant. When he was rudely summoned back to the court, he arrived crying, "It wasn't me, but my father who ordered the jewelry. He is dead. I am innocent." Now when the rich man was brought in, he actually told the king that it was not his fault, it was his father who had ordered for the jewelry. And he said that he was innocent. But the king consulted his minister and ruled decisively. "It's true, your father is the true murderer. He is dead. But somebody must be punished in this place. You have inherited everything from that criminal father of yours, his riches as well as his sins. I knew at once, even when I first set eyes on you, that you were at the root of this horrible crime. You must die." And he ordered a new stake to be made ready for the execution. As the servants sharpened the stake and got it ready for the final impaling of the criminal, it occurred to the minister that the rich merchant was somehow too thin to be properly executed on the stake. He appealed to the king's common sense. The king too worried about it. So here they had actually decided to punish the rich man. So accordingly a stake was made, new one, in order to put him there and kill him. But then they realized that the stake was actually not fitting for the rich man. He was too thin. So both the king and the minister and others were actually worried, and they were thinking what to do with this rich man, thinking for an idea.